Good afternoon. Welcome to another workshop. Today we are going to be talking about transferring from a community college to a four-year university. First and foremost, I would like to give a brief introduction to myself. That way, if you're new to watching these workshops, you can get to know me a little bit better. I am a Mizzou alum. I'm also a former first-generation college student, so I was the first in my family to go to college. During my undergrad college career, I got a degree in interdisciplinary studies and a minor in human development and family science. I went on to grad school also at the University of Missouri-Columbia, where I obtained my master's of social work and a master's of public health. I started in this role with Missouri College Advising Corps in 2018. I'm originally from St. Louis, but I moved to Columbia, Missouri for college, never looked back, and now I have made my way to Kansas City. I am a big lover of sports and musical theater. If you need my link tree, click that link. That link will help you get to all my social media, the event calendar, making an appointment with me if you need help with anything, all that good stuff. But for now, we are going to jump right into some tips. So first and foremost, if you are thinking about transferring from community college to a four-year school, you need to do your research. So look at any schools you might be interested in, all the programs they have, the degrees they offer, and of course, what financial aid can they provide you? So not only are you looking at scholarships, but what does it cost to go there? Do they offer any work study positions? Are there any specific scholarships in any programs? Also, know if there is an articulation agreement. So an articulation agreement is basically just when a community college has kind of partnered with a university and that university has agreed, yes, any of your classes that come from this college will transfer to our university. So many colleges in like Missouri, for instance, like Metropolitan Community College, St. Louis Community College, Ozarks Technical Community College, East Central College, a lot of those have articulation agreements with bigger public four-year universities such as Missouri State University, University of Missouri-Columbia, University of Missouri St. Louis, University of Missouri Kansas City, Southeast Missouri State University. So articulation agreements are just great because that means you know that the classes are guaranteed to transfer. So it can be really helpful if you know what articulation agreements your community college has in place. Start your planning early. So even if you are a freshman or maybe you haven't even started classes yet, maybe you're thinking about starting in spring 2024 or even fall 2024, start thinking ahead early. Start thinking about what college you might want to go to. Start kind of getting an idea of what program you want to go into, because that will make it a lot easier if you start planning early. You're less likely to miss out on anything. Once you are at a community college, seek out your transfer office early also and get help with the transfer process. So pretty much every community college is going to have transfer specific advisors, and they'll have like an office where transfer students can go to get some help. Start to save some money. Obviously, if you're transferring from a two-year school to a four-year school, it's going to be more expensive. But once you kind of know where you're going, you can start to apply into more scholarships and kind of save your money to head down to that four-year school. If you're getting an AA or an Associate of Arts, so an Associate of Arts degree, that's going to be best for like liberal arts. So think of that for things like psychology, social work, just kind of like in that like social liberal arts kind of field. If you're getting an AS or an Associate of Science degree, that's going to be obviously best for kind of those sciencey math kind of degrees. An AAS, which is an Associate's Applied degree of science, is not intended for a transfer. So if you're getting an AAS, it's probably because you're in like a nursing program or something very specific. Those degrees are more intended for like jobs. So if you're getting an AAS, doesn't mean you can't go to a four-year school. Just know that some of those classes might not transfer because they're really intended for that specific job. So you can get any associate's degree really and transfer to four-year, but some are just easier than others. Many of you, if you are already planning to transfer, you might be getting just in like the general degree transfer program, and that one is probably best and easiest for transferring. So courses and credits, obviously this is a very important part of transferring. Work with an academic advisor each year to kind of create your grad plan. A grad plan is just kind of like a roadmap of when you're going to take what class. So for instance, you might sit down and an advisor is going to write out 5 classes you're going to take in fall 24, 5 classes you're going to take in spring 25, 5 classes you're going to take in fall of 25, 5 classes you're going to take in spring of 26. And all those classes, you want to know that they are going to transfer and work for a program at that new school. It is also helpful if you sit down and enroll with that advisor every semester, because sometimes your grad plan might change. If you're now you want to do, instead of instead of Associate of Arts, you want to do an Associate of Science, your classes might change. So it's helpful if you sit down with an academic advisor to get help with that each semester. When you're at the community college level, it's easier if you try to stick to kind of generic core classes, especially those like general education classes. So for instance, college algebra, biology, Psych 101, English 1, a history class, because those are more likely to transfer. There's like a group of classes, your general education classes, that are going to transfer no matter what your degree is. So they're more likely to transfer. Now, I will say, I don't want you just taking a bunch of boring classes. You can still take 1 or 2 elective classes here and there a semester. Maybe you want to take a photography class because you're really interested in photography, or you want to know more about maybe teaching, so you take an education class or something. That's okay, because that's kind of you feeling out what you want to do, but just know that those kind of classes are just harder to transfer over. They might fit as an elective, but it's not always guaranteed. You might also have some classes that you thought would transfer over. So let's say you take like a higher level math class, but really at the new university, it counts as like a lower level math class. You can appeal. So for instance, let's say you take some classes and the university is like, oh, those aren't going to transfer. You can work with an academic advisor to appeal that those credits didn't transfer, or to appeal that, for instance, like let's say you took a college discrete math class and now you want it to transfer to a discrete math university and they're not saying that, you might have to show them like your previous work, but you can work with them to try to get that appealed so you can still get those credits. So the application process, know when the application opens for the school you're going to apply for. I think that's pretty obvious. Sometimes it is the same timeline as it would have been in when you were in high school. So sometimes you might have to apply as early as like October, November. However, oftentimes transfer students don't have to apply until later in the spring. So they often are almost always accepting transfer students, but know when the application opens, and also know all of the transfer admission and application student requirements. Typically transfer students have different admission requirements. For instance, they're going to obviously look at your transcripts, but you need to make sure you get those requested, and they're going to see what you did in college, opposed to requiring you to do an ACT or an SAT or something like that. So know all of that, and also know what the application requirements are. So like, do you need a letter of recommendation? Do you just need your transcript from your college? Do they also want the one from your high school? When do they want that by? All that stuff. Obviously, submit the application on time. That's very important. And don't forget about scholarships. So there are typically transfer student specific scholarships available at many universities, but you want to make sure that you know what the deadline of those are, because you don't want to miss out on that free money. So pay attention to when the application is due, but also any school specific scholarships as well. Some things to keep in mind. You don't have to transfer or seek out a bachelor's degree right away. If you are someone that is in a community college program right now, you don't necessarily have to go straight into a bachelor's degree. You could take a gap year. You could work in the workforce for a while until you want to go back. It's really up to you. It's just kind of figuring out what works best for you in your future. Some jobs might offer a tuition assistance. So you might want to go out into the workforce and start working in the field so that they will pay for you to go on to get your bachelor's degree. Something else that's really important to keep in mind is that certain grades or a GPA might be required for certain classes or programs at certain schools. So it's really important that you do your best to get good grades at community college. I know sometimes it can be easy to get kind of overwhelmed or get swept up, but really try your best to do your best, because it can hurt you in the long run when you're trying to apply to a program at a four-year school or certain classes that you needed for instance, like let's say you have a high-level math class that you take and you get like a C-, that might not work for the major. If you're trying to be like a math major or something, you might have needed to get like a C+ or a B in that class for it to count. So it's really important that you're doing your best. And lastly, something to really think about: do you need a four-year degree to do the work you want to do and make the money you want to make? There are a lot of programs out there where you don't need a bachelor's degree. And if you don't want to go on to get a bachelor's degree, you don't have to, but that's something you have to decide. What do you want to do? Is it usually, do people in that field get a bachelor's degree? Are people in your field doing just fine with an associate's degree? It's really kind of up to you. I can't tell you one way or the other. There are obviously a lot of degrees out there where you only need an associate's, but there are some out there where it is really vital to have a bachelor's degree, and even to go on to get a master's degree. And obviously to have a master's degree, you'd have to get a bachelor's degree. So It really just kind of depends on thinking through what you want to do and the kind of life you want to set up for yourself. Does anyone have any questions? If there aren't any questions, that is a-okay. You can always text me and I am happy to help you with any part of the transfer process. So if you're someone right now that knows they want to transfer and maybe you want to just talk through your options, you can always make a one-on-one appointment with me. We can talk about it over Zoom. Or if you're someone who's in the application process right now and needs someone to write you a letter, or you need someone to look over an essay, I help students with that all the time. I'd be happy to help you with your transfer student application. Just reach out to me and I would be happy to help. Some things to keep in mind. We have some things coming up. So tomorrow, November 15th, I will be having another virtual office hours. So those are the windows you can drop in: 10 to 12, 1 to 3, 4 to 6. I'll just be hanging out on Zoom. So if you do want to get some help with the transfer process or start talking about programs or ideas, you can drop in tomorrow and I will be available to help you out. I also want to keep hammering home. The 2024-2025 FAFSA is undergoing a major overhaul, and it will not open until December. Pardon me. The date has not been decided on yet, but once it is set, I will send out a link and you guys can make virtual help appointments with me on Zoom. The FAFSA is going to be a lot different this year because it is undergoing a major overhaul. So while I'm confident most of you could fill this out by yourself, if you're someone that would feel better having someone kind of walk you through it, I'd be happy to do that. I have been trained on it already and have kind of seen what it might look like. They're still tweaking a few things, but I feel pretty confident in being able to help you guys get it completed. So if you need help with that, I will send out a link to make appointments with me as soon as I get the date. I'll also have a way to make appointments with me, as always, in my link tree. But I thank you all for tuning in today. As always, if you do have any questions or if you need help with something, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope your week is going well, and I look forward to talking with you guys again soon.